Hello, everyone. It is I, Andy.
And I'm Sean.
And this is the Commander's Brew.
This week, 5-color shrines, also mazes and also elementals.
Hey, everyone. Thanks for watching here on YouTube. It's the Commander's Brew, and we got a new deck tech for you this week. If you want to help us out with the show, you can just hit subscribe right here. It does a lot. It really helps out. Leave a comment as well. Also, if you want to get involved directly, you can check out our Patreon, patreon.com/commandersbrew. Through that, you can get involved with the Discord and join all of our patrons who are on there and helping us brew these decks. We actually get in there and we start sharing card ideas and all that kind of stuff. So check us out, patreon.com/commandersbrew. But we will now get into this week's new deck tech. Sean, what are we working with?
This week, everyone's talking about this. The new 5-color shrine. And we also got 5 additional shrines. There are now 11 shrines that care about shrines in the way we want them to. Loosely speaking, every shrine gets stronger the more shrines you have out. So now we have 11 out here. We have like a 5-color shrine lord. It can't be your commander. Let me just read what it is. It's Sanctum of All. It's costs WUBRG. It's a 5 CMC, one of every color. It's a legendary enchantment shrine. All of the shrines are legendary, so you're not allowed to copy them with any sort of things. We're not going to jump through the hoops of making them into creatures and then putting Helm of the Host or Spark doubling them and copying them that way. Although you could, but we're not doing that. So here's what
Or
Sanctum
that thing
of
that
All
says
does.
the legendary rule is not in effect.
That's true. That's another way to do it. But
Anyways,
I mean, then
yeah.
you have to have multiple. Yeah. Anyway,
Yeah.
we're not doing that.
It's all right.
They're good enough without that.
Sure.
So here's what Sanctum of All does. At the beginning of your upkeep, you may search your library and or graveyard for a shrine card and put it onto the battlefield. If you search your library this way, shuffle it. And then if you have 6 or more shrines, all of your shrine triggers trigger double. They trigger an additional time. So you're getting double triggers off of... So that's another way. You will eventually get there because every upkeep you're putting more shrines in. Maybe you've already had a couple shrines before you hit your Sanctum of All. That's another way to do shrines. So that's 5-color shrines. There's 11 shrines. You could just make a deck probably with new Captain Sisay because it's legendary. She can get legendaries. You put in your shrines and then that's your whole game plan. Boring. We also said, well, we're doing 5 colors.
Personally, tried to do that.
But, I mean, it's good. It's probably gonna be fine,
yeah.
but that's all you're gonna do. That's
Yeah.
that's like that. The lines of that game are exactly the same every time, right? Step 1, Sanctum of All. Step 2, win all the other shrines.
Mm-hmm.
So we're also got a backup plan. What if we don't get our shrines? We're not gonna devote. So like we're 5 colors. We're playing a bunch of dual lands. Why not throw Maze's End in there? Here's Maze's End. It's a land. It enters tapped and it adds 1 colorless. But you can pay 3, tap this, and return it to your hand. Search your library for a gate card, put it onto the battlefield, then shuffle your library. And then if you control 10 or more gates with different names, you win the game. There are 10 gates of the guilds, and there's an additional gate that's sort of a all-encompassing gate. So now you don't even have to hit all of your gates. You can lose one. So we've just got this going on in the background. Maybe we got some shrines. Maybe we got this. But still, what's the deck do? I don't know, elementals? We got Horde of Notions. Horde of Notions is our commander. This is a legendary 5/5 elemental. It's costs WUBRG, all the colors. 5/5 with vigilance, trample, and haste. And the activated ability is WUBRG. You may play... Well, it says you may... It does say you may play in the Oracle text on here. Surely that says cast, no?
Maybe because... play.
So maybe that's because some elementals can be lands somehow.
Maybe. Yeah.
I don't know. But you may play target elemental card from your graveyard without paying its mana cost. This activated ability can be used at instant speed. The ability lets you do that. So we've got a bunch of elementals, but we're not an elemental tribal deck. We're not going 100% on shrines. We're not 100% all in on Maze's End. These are just all the things that the deck has going on, and whatever the shrines help the Maze's End, the Maze's End help the elementals help the ramp. It all helps each other. So we just play how the deck wants to go. And that's kind of the game plan. So I think you have a loose idea of what's going on. So let's get into some of our neat moves. I lied. Before we do neat moves, I want to talk about a couple of the shrines we're not running. We are not running all 11 shrines. Some of them are mean.
Ooh.
One of them we're not running is Horde of Night's Reach. This is 3 and a black. This is the old. So there's like new WUBRG ones and old WUBRG ones, one of each. So this is the old black shrine. It says at the beginning of your upkeep, target opponent discards a card for each shrine you control. Once we get this rolling, we'll have 2, 3, 4 cards. Like, even if you spread it around, it won't be long before your opponents aren't allowed to keep cards in their hand. That makes Magic unfun for a lot of people. Not to mention, you're going to have to target someone first with this. And just like, that's a rough choice. It doesn't do all opponents. So you're like, who do I hate? That could be rough.
Yeah.
Also not running the new white shrine, Sanctum of Tranquil Light. It's a single white, and the ability is 5 and a white, tap target creature. This ability costs 1 less to activate for each shrine you control. It's an activated one. It doesn't trigger on its own, so the double trigger doesn't work with Sanctum of All. And plus, tapping creatures isn't enough. Especially like if you get this early, I'm not paying 5 to do it. And if I get this late, I probably don't need to tap creatures because of all the other bonkers things my shrines are doing. And the other one I'm not running, ironically, you might wonder, is Haunted of Seeing Winds. This is 4 and a blue. This is the old blue one. At the beginning of your upkeep, draw a card for each shrine you control. This is because it's not a May ability. And if you have Sanctum of All and 6 shrines, you start to, like, that's 12 cards a turn. If you've been doing the other shrine is sort of a loot type of shrine, but you only discard 1 card. So it is very possible to get close to deck yourself with this. I've left it out for that reason. You might deck yourself in your upkeep if you have this. So there you go. Those are the missing shrines. We have 8 left. So since we started with a shrine idea, Andy, why don't you tell... These are the shrines we hope to start with, if not Sanctum of All.
Working on a
Neat.
Right. So Sanctum of Fruitful Harvest, which is the new green shrine, is 2 and a green legendary shrine. At the beginning of your pre-combat main phase, add X mana of any one color, where X is the number of shrines you control. So yeah, we want to be ramping out with this card, getting it to the point where we can cast our other shrines, because this is nice. It gives you X of any color mana, all one color, but still pretty sweet. And then we also have Sanctum of Calm Waters, which is the new blue one. So 3 and a blue. And it says, at the beginning of your pre-combat main phase, you may draw X cards, where X is the number of shrines you control. And if you do, discard a card. Like you said about the Seeing Winds, that's not a May. This is a May. So you're not going to deck yourself with Sanctum of Calm Waters. It's just sweet to have for a while until you're drawing all your, you're making sure you're drawing all your good stuff, all your shrines that you want. And then, that's going to be very helpful that way.
Yeah, these are great development shrines, right? These get us going. If we have Sanctum of All, we're on a quick train to dominate this game. But if not, this will just help us keep our game plan going. If we don't see Sanctum of All for a little bit, that's okay. We're putting gates out there because we do run Maze's End, right? That's the land that it's an alternate win con. So we have help with that. And Maze's End came out way back in Dragon's Maze. That's a long time ago.
Yeah.
We've had gates pop up again in Ravnica, and we've got a lot more gate support, including an 11th gate. I want to highlight Circuitous Route. That's new since Maze's End. 3 and a green for a sorcery. Search for 2 basics and or gates. Put them onto the battlefield tapped. That's 2 more gates. A Maze's End activation puts a 3rd gate down there. So that's 1/3 of the way right there. We can't cast this over and over, but this is good stuff. And then we've also got Gate Colossus. It's 8 mana, but it costs for an 8/8 construct, but it costs 1 less for each gate you control. So we can usually cast this for 5, 4, 3, and it can't be blocked by little creatures with power 2 or less. And whenever a gate enters play, so either if we play a gate, if we cast Circuitous Route, if we activate Maze's End, we get to put Gate Colossus from the graveyard on top of our library. If we activate that in our upkeep before a Calm Waters, a Sanctum activation, we'll probably be able to draw the Colossus if that's going on as well. This makes for excellent defense while we develop further. It's an excellent attacker if we have it available. That's a lot of damage. I'm happy to run that sort of stuff. So like maybe we're going Maze's End now. Maybe that's the way this game's playing out.
I love a multi-pronged possible attack with a deck.
Sure.
It's one of my favorite things to do in a commander deck. So yeah, if this is the version where we think, okay, this is the Maze's End route that we're going here, Mina and Den seems pretty sweet. 2 red green for the 4/4 legendary elf ally. You can play additional lands on each of your turns, and you can pay red and a green to return a land you control to its owner's hand. Target creature gains trample. So this is sweet because we have to bounce Maze's End back to our hand in order to activate it. So this just lets you get Maze's End back down on the battlefield right away because we can play that extra land. Also, if we have a bunch in our hand, it just means we get to do it faster, right? We also have Nature Spiral, 1 in our green for a sorcery that says return target permanent card from your graveyard to your hand. Now, I'm guessing this is because there's going to be some things that might put lands in our graveyard. Do we have? I mean,
it could happen, right? Yeah, we have some things that do put cards in the graveyard. We don't have a strong self-mill. Here's another example of why brewing in the Discord is so cool. There's a version of this deck where we go real hard on self-mill, and then we just put all of our lands from our graveyard back onto the battlefield. I think that would be an excellent way to build a dedicated Maze's End deck, but I didn't want to dedicate all those card slots to this, but we just have a couple of cards to get those back. And, you know, maybe we don't care about the gate that's in the graveyard. Maybe we'd rather pick up a shrine. So maybe that's what we'll grab there.
Absolutely. And then we have Kyrios and Tiro of Miletus. This is the 4-color. So it's the there's no black in this one. So red, green, yellow, red, green, white, blue. Legendary Human Soldier. The 2/8. At the beginning of your end step, draw a card. Each player may put a land card from his or her hand onto the battlefield. Then each opponent who didn't draws a card. So basically, it's like fancy text for saying, you draw a card on your end step, and then you can play an extra land, basically, right? So this again, same thing. Maze's End, get it down there. Also, get faster to your gates and be able to play them.
And we've left out that there's also elementals in this deck, right? So like maybe we've got some shrines. I did a bunch of testing, and if you get an early Sanctum of All or one of those good draw utility ramp shrines, this deck starts to go pretty fast. Maze's End also, like, if you get the right pieces for it, we can just be like, I'm very close to a Maze's End victory. I think I'm going to spend my energy on that for a little while. Not to mention, Horde of Notions lets us cast elementals out of the graveyard for 5 color, or just cheap ones. And, you know, I think elementals, we could have gone any direction with the rest of the deck, but elementals work great because of a key elemental called Risen Reef. 1 green, blue. It's an elemental. It's a 1/1. Whenever this or another elemental enters the battlefield under our control, I get to look at the top card of the library, and if it's a land, it just goes right into the battlefield tapped. If that's a gate, thank you very much. Or I can put it into my hand. So it's card draw. It's that sort of thing. Ikoria gave us Parcel Beast. It's an elemental beast, 2 green, blue for a 2/4, or it mutates for green and blue. You can pay 1 and tap, look at the top card of your library. If it's a land, put it right into the battlefield. If not, you can put it in your hand. It's the ability on Risen Reef, but it's an activated ability. So we can maybe get extra lands out this way, or we're just drawing cards. These are our utility elementals. I'm happy to cast a Risen Reef out of the graveyard for 5 mana with Horde of Notions. It's a bit overpriced, but I'm happy to get that card back. And listen, there's lots of elementals that we could have gone with. Omnath, Locus of Rage is a top elemental.
Yeah.
3 red, red, green, green. Legendary elemental, 5/5. Landfall. we've already told you so many ways lands are hitting the battlefield. So
Yeah.
this landfall trigger gets amped up big time. Whenever a land comes in, you get a 5/5 red and green elemental creature token. That'll trigger Risen Reef and other things going on maybe. And whenever this or another elemental dies, Omnath deals 3 damage to target creature or player. That also could just be a win con. I mean, I'm not going to go through them all, but we've got plenty of elementals that can sack themselves for effect. Maybe it's got evoke, and when we evoke it, we get rid of an artifact. So it's going to leave the battlefield. We're going to kill an artifact, and Omnath is going to get that trigger going. So is Risen Reef. This deck, you've got a lot of decision points in this deck, which is pretty cool, I think.
It's always the most fun decks to play are the ones where you're making lots of decisions all the time.
Yeah, totally.
Go ahead.
No, you go. Yeah, you've got a lot of experience with Omnath.
I was just gonna say I love Omnath Locus of Rage. Like you're saying, I have an Omnath deck, and it's anything where you're just like the beauty thing about this card is that like there's tons of synergy that you could include with it, sacrificing things and playing more elementals and blah blah blah. But really, all you need is some landfall. Like as long as you're playing lands, and if you've included like we have here some ways to drop some extra lands, that's more than enough synergy, man. That's great. Like Parcel Beast, Risen Reef, those coiling Oracle effects are just fantastic with Omnath. Not to mention stuff like Mina and Den. So Maze's End is putting lands into play. Like it's wild. This is great.
Now I'm gonna take a quick detour here. I know we're not in the budget section of the deck, but there's lots of elementals. Omnath is one of the top 3 expensive cards of the deck. I left Omnath in because of the synergy with the lands and everything, but there are lots of pricey elementals I left out. Of course, Avenger of Zendikar belongs in here.
Right.
Of course, Maelstrom Wanderer belongs in here. Like these are pretty expensive cards, and I left them out. But you can tune this up. You can go more on elementals. You can go more on like fancy land tricks. Again, I don't mean to dwell on the budget, but we're not running Life from the Loam or Crucible of Worlds.
Sure.
But those will be great includes if you want a more of a self-mill thing to get that going. This deck can like change shape a lot, I think, if you just kind of go in different directions. It's pretty cool.
Yeah, love that.
And so there's 2 other cards I want to highlight. So Enduring Ideal. If you get this, we're going to cast it.
No.
5 white for a sorcery. Search your library for an enchantment card, put it into play, then shuffle your library. And it has epic, so for the rest of the game, you can't play spells. At the beginning of each of your upkeep, copy this spell except for its epic ability. So we're going to cast Enduring Ideal. We're going to put Sanctum of All into play. And then every upkeep, we're going to get to put another shrine into play in addition to the shrine that Sanctum of All gets to put into play. Those abilities still happen. Those triggers still happen. And it won't be long before we will truly dominate this game if we get all the shrines out. And just in case that wasn't enough, Andy, what other enchantment can we go get?
I can't believe this. Happily Ever After. Happily Ever After, 2 and a white, an enchantment. When it enters the battlefield, each player gains 5 life and draws a card. And then at the beginning of your upkeep, if there are 5 colors among permanents you control, if there are 6 or more card types among permanents you control, and or cards in your graveyard, and your life total is greater than or equal to your starting life total, you win the game. And I see that. I see how this works now. We're going to be able to get 5 colors very easily. You know, it's a 5-color deck. We got a 5-color commander. Bam, there you go. You getting the different card types, it seems like there's quite a few in the deck. I mean, you know,
yeah, we have plenty of instants and sorceries that deal with like, you know, crop rotation to get another non-basic land. We've got some artifacts that help us get lands, you know, Sol Ring, of course. They end up in the graveyard or on the battlefield, some fixing artifacts. The only one we don't run is Planeswalkers. Just worked out that way, but it's pretty easy to do. And we didn't talk about it, but the old white shrine gains you 2 life per shrine you control during your upkeep. And if Sanctum of All is giving you double that trigger, that means we have 6 shrines out. So that means we're getting 12 times 2. We're getting 24 life.
Yeah,
just from that. So like that should be doable.
The new black one drains everyone, right? For the number of shrines you control. You don't gain all the life. It's not like Grey Merchant, but you still gain a decent amount off of it.
Yeah, I mean that shrine alone could win the game
Exactly,
anyway, even
yeah.
if we don't need to get this. But just another thing. This is another late recommendation from the Discord where they're like, "We got a few win cons. Why not throw this one in there too?" I was like, "Yeah, why
Yeah,
not?"
it seems
Like,
like it makes sense. I think you're right to do it. Yeah,
yeah,
because
yeah.
like they're gonna want to kill your some enchantment. So like they probably use their enchantment destruction already on something, right? Whether it's
Probably.
one of the shrines or whatever. And if you haven't gotten them back or whatever, like I just don't feel by the time that you've just said, okay, let's do happily ever after. I just don't feel like people are gonna have what it takes to get rid of it at this point. And if they do, they use their removal on happily ever after. Big deal.
Yeah, like what do you go for this or do you go for Sanctum of All? I don't know.
I think you're right to go, like, the bigger game plan is to go for Sanctum of All, but like they're never going to see you coming for happily ever after. Like they're never going to see that coming.
Yeah.
It's pretty funny. I love it. I love
Yeah,
it.
you can slow roll the Maze's End portion of the deck to like make that a surprise as well.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, there's lots of tricks like, crop rotation to as your last one to sneak in the Maze's End as the last gate you need and then just activate it on your upkeep if you want. Like that's a fun way to go.
Yeah, this seems fun. I love following different paths as the game sort of unfolds in front of you.
And we did have a surprise and discovery. I mean, when you're playing a 5-color deck and you're focusing on, like, you have a lot of power to cast a lot of spells. And Neomaxis in the Discord recommended the Bringer cycle of cards. The one that I'm like, a lot of them duplicate what the shrines are already doing. So they don't all have a place in here except the black one, Bringer of the Black Dawn. 7 black for a 5/5 Bringer, but you're allowed to cast it for WUBRG instead of its mana cost. So it's cost the same as our commander, cost the same as a Sanctum of All. It's a 5/5 with trample, and at the beginning of your upkeep, you may pay 2 life. If you do, search your library for a card, shuffle your library, and put that card on top of it. So it tutors a card to the top of your deck for 2 life every upkeep. That just gets this train rolling even faster. This is, do you want to go Maze's End? Put that on top. Do you want to go Sanctum of All? Put that on top. Do you want to grab Happily Ever After? Put that on top. This card's amazing.
That's great.
It's a repeatable tutor, and we can cast it very easily. So great. Thank you very much.
Sweet.
Happy to. I guess I'll take this time to thank some of our Discord members. Man, it's so fun getting in there, brewing. My initial idea was like, I know I want to do 5-color shrines. I know I want to back it up with Maze's End, but I want some other 5-color flavor. So we brainstormed a ton of 5-color options, settled on elementals, went ham on elementals. So I think I got everybody, but I may have missed a few people. Again, it's a whirlwind in there, so sorry if I missed you. I'll get you next time. Dino Pirate, Papadio, Tornado Joe 87, Neomaxis, Lolwhat, Chiefy, Nosrak 2, Pips Don't Lie, Senator Og, Shen, Beppa, Magic Sphere, Dinesh, Brave Sarabin, Doomfrog, and Shafam 2001. Thank you, team. Couldn't have done it without you.
Shafam.
Let's do the budget report. This is where we take all of the cards and we turn them into multicolor money. And if we have all the colors of the money, we have one of every bill.
Canadian money.
Yeah.
Colorful like the currency.
I've already hinted that this deck has a few pricey options in it. The TCG mid comes in at 145 and the low comes at 74, which is a little higher than average for what we do around here. But again, there's a ton of flexibility in this deck. You could go up by $100 or down by quite a few dollars. Surprisingly, the most expensive card is Kineos and Tiro of Meletis.
Wow.
Card's up to $11.
Wow. Yeah, I mean, you know what? So I'm simultaneously surprised and also not surprised. You know what I mean? Like, 'cause I remember when the 4-color decks came out, that like Kineos and Tiro was a budget card. We were using it in a bunch of decks, like on the show where we were brewing $50 decks, and they were not breaking the bank back then. But then looking back, you're also kind of like, man, these, when they print these commander products, like the commanders are the first things to go up. You know, I mean, obviously there's always that one chase card in every one of these decks or whatever, but the commanders are just taking over when it comes to the, you know, representing the value that you get.
I think everyone got so excited about Atraxa that year that
Yes.
it just overshadowed these. But then eventually people are like, hey, we all know Atraxa's broken, but this card's also kind of broken.
Yeah. It's great. A 2/8
Yeah.
for 4 that like lets
Yeah,
you play
it's
extra
great.
lands and draw cards. It's amazing.
$11.
$11. I'm surprised. Next is Omnath. As you mentioned earlier, Omnath Locus of Rage, the 7 mana 5/5, the landfall and everything, is $10. And this is one that I know was kind of expensive, and then it did get a reprint. Let me see. Where the reprints come in?
I don't think it has a reprint.
I think it did get a reprint. Oh, no. I thought it got a reprint in one of the commander sets. No, okay, no, I'm wrong. You're right. No, it...
The original Omnath got a reprint, the mono green one.
Oh, really? I didn't even know that. Anyways, so yeah, I guess... So Omnath just hasn't seen a reprint yet, and this is just a... You know, this is... I bet you went up in price after the other Omnath came out, and that elemental deck became really, really something after M20. But this is a great card, man. You know, I've had an Omnath deck since it came out, and it's a very fun, pretty powerful deck. It's you know, so it's a powerful card. $10 is, you know, it's mythic from a not great set too. So there's a lot of things working against the price of this one.
Third most expensive card is Ulvenwald Hydra. This is up to about $7, although it's going to be reprinted in Jumpstart, and that's going to bring the price down. You can already pre-buy it for like $5 from Jumpstart, and that will go lower. But that's because it's a 6 mana Star Hydra with reach. The power and toughness is equal to the number of lands you control, and when it enters the battlefield, the ETB is basically putting any land from your library into the battlefield tapped. So probably Maze's End, probably a gate, but it like gets us to our gate victory even faster.
Nice, yeah.
Yeah, it's just like all those cards. And again, here's another option. Could have put Golos in here, right? Could have led with Golos Maze's End commander, because Golos tutors up the land. But again, you know, like I wanted to do something a little bit different.
Let's take a look at our faves. I will go first. And my favorite card in this deck is Elvish Reclaimer. It's a single green for a 1/2. And it says that Elvish Reclaimer gets +2/+2 as long as there are 3 or more land cards in your graveyard. And you pay 2 and tap, sack a land, search your library for a land card, put it onto the battlefield tapped, then shuffle your library. This is just going to work so great, obviously, with the Maze's End portion of the deck, but also, you know, if you get Omnath out there and you're just being able to like sack lands and get new ones in, I mean, you're just going to have an army of 5/5s before you know it. And I love this card. It's great. It's
This
like
card,
go ahead.
I was good. Like while I was testing it, the Maze's End victory is so tempting. Like that's the one that I found myself going for most frequently, at least in when we tested on Forge against pretty dumb AIs. Who don't know, like, hey,
This guy's going for it.
Yeah, right? But like things like Elvish Reclaimer let you put, like, that doesn't cost a land drop by what it does. Trade in a forest for a Simic Guildgate or something like that. Circuitous Root is new. Ulvenwald Hydra came out since Dragon's Maze. We've got so many more ways to sneak out non-basics that the Maze's End deck is a lot more viable than it used to be.
Yeah, like it's just 10 of the lands, right? Like it doesn't seem, you put enough stuff in there that cares about getting lands, you're gonna have it. People are gonna come for you though once they see that Maze's End out there. But I guess, you know, if you can be sneaky enough with it, you might be able to make it work, right? Like
it's true.
So like even for this one, like one of the reasons I like Elvish Reclaimer is that you can grab that Maze's End at instant speed.
Yeah. Now, so, okay, the tricky thing about Maze's End is it enters tapped, and you have to activate its ability to get the win by tapping it.
Right.
So you have to untap with it somehow.
So you have to have it come in on your opponent's end step.
Yeah.
And then on the untap, bam, right?
Yeah.
So that's a nice move. That's a nice way to do things there.
I like it. From my favorite card, I went with Mythos of Illuna.
Ooh.
It's a new one from Ikoria, but it's proving like this is incredibly useful. 2 blue sorcery. Create a token that's a copy of target permanent. So it's a 4-mana clone of anything. But if you pay red-green, so in the 2 colorless, which is very easy for us, that you get to fight if you copied a creature, you get to fight any other creature you don't control. Mm-hmm. The thing you copy doesn't have to fight itself. You can make a copy of a big creature and fight a smaller utility creature that you need to get rid of. But the thing that we mustn't overlook is this lets you copy lands. This lets you copy enchantments. The shrines are legendary, so we can't copy those, and they won't work. But we can this is another way we can certainly maybe copy a Maze's End and activate that Maze's End, that the Mythos of Illuna comes back to our hand, and we've put another gate onto the battlefield. That also works.
Sweet.
I like it.
Yeah, that's really good, man. This is cool. Oddly enough, it kind of reminds me of the other deck that we made with Happily Ever After in it, a little bit.
Right.
Like you're going and you're trying to get things, and you're trying to work towards this kind of alternate win con, and you're just trying to amass this 5-color thing on your board and just really make it work. And it's I played with that deck a little bit, and it was it could have used some it was perhaps a bit ambitious, because if you remember, I was trying to do 3-color 5-color win con. That proved to be quite difficult. It proved to be tough. With this deck, I think because you also have you got the gates, you got the shrines, and you have the elementals. I think it's we're not just bent on one thing like that deck was. This is those 3 things plus Happily Ever After. As we talked about. So I like that it's got those multiple angles, because that's how you're gonna play your game out, and then you're gonna see halfway through, and you're gonna be okay, this is the route I want to take, and I love that.
Yeah, super fun.
Really
Thanks,
cool.
everybody in Discord.
Yeah, thanks so much. Well, that does it for the show. That's everything. Let us know how you feel about this deck, whether it's in the comments of YouTube or on Twitter. You can reach out to us at Commander's Brew. Good spot to start chatting out there. But also remember, if you're looking to buy some singles and you're in Canada, please check out Wizard Tower. Use our coupon code. You'll get a little slice off the price there, a direct discount if you order and ship within Canada. And of course, if you're outside of Canada, check out our TCG Player affiliate link. It's below the video on YouTube. It's in the show notes of the audio show on your podcast app. Follow that link to TCG Player, and whether you're purchasing cards from the deck or not, doesn't matter. We get a little bit of a slice there, so that's a nice way to help support the show if you choose to do so. It's been great. Another great week. Another fun deck. Thanks for watching, everyone, and we will see you again next time. Bye.
Bye. Thanks for watching. If you love what we're doing, consider supporting the show by going to patreon.com/commandersbrew.
And if you want to get any of the cards from our deck list, go to our TCG Player affiliate link below.
That helps us out too. And for a free way to help us out, consider sharing the show with some friends. Like and subscribe, add a comment or two.
See you later.
Bye.